Okay, so this is part two of video one. I'm going to pick up where Jeshel was talking. The reason I did that is so that it's not one long video, so you can, go back and forth. So go ahead and talk about what you were talking about right at the end of the first video.
Yeah, so I was talking about in 2021 how, unbeknownst to me, I was having sugar issues. I felt like something was wrong because I was in a place where every time I'd get in the car, I had just eaten something, but I literally felt like my sugar was dropping. And if anyone's ever had a sugar drop or have had any type of hypoglycemia, you just know what that feels like. It does feel like a full blown attack, but you just know that like you need to eat. And the craziest part, hungry, and so I didn't even know that there was such a thing called reactive hypoglycemia. So I ended up going to a new endocrinologist January 2021. And at this point, I wasn't driving. After I had just turned 38 years old, and I was like, I can't drive anymore. Like, I feel like if I'm in the car with my children. And so I made the very difficult decision to just stop driving, taking me to a doctor's appointment, which was like downtown Orlando area. We live in so, it's a little bit of a and I mean, at this point, everywhere I go, I not only have my purse, I have a huge, 64 ounce thing of ice cold water because I still have the heat thing I was, telling you about. And on top of that, I had to wear like spaghetti straps of everything. I couldn't have a bra on. Like, I was just, everything was heat. It was nuts. When I walk into the new endocrinologist, who was referred to me actually by a really sweet client friend, friends, because I'm like, they're friends, as soon as I met him, he goes, I know exactly what's wrong with you and I'm going to prove it. And I was like, wait, what? Because I wanted to physically see him because I had found out through ultrasounds of my thyroid issues that really large nodule. The nodules was about an inch in diameter. And so I was going to him to actually have a biopsy, and he was going to do what's called sclerotherapy, which is where they inject alcohol into the nodule to shrink it. And I started telling him about my symptoms. Mind you, my hair is literally up in a bun. I have like, the smallest amount of clothes I could wear. I lived in dresses because that was like the coolest I could be. I had a cooler full of food. I couldn't leave without it. Like, I just had this like anxiety about food, because the moment I would feel my sugar drop, I needed to be able to grab something to start eating. And he goes, if I do the sclerotherapy on you right now, I'm going to make you worse. I'm going to actually exacerbate all your symptoms.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What's wrong with you? I'm going to prove it. And I'm like, immediately I was like, all right, I like this guy. Like, I love his confidence. And finally, I mean, he even apologized to me for all the ER doctors that told me I was having a panic attack. He goes, this is not panic. He goes, this is your blood sugar. So why were the ER doctors not finding it was because I was eating something before I walked in. And so by the time they took my blood sugar was restored with reactive hypoglycemia. It's the insulin roller coaster. So he put a Libre on my arm, which is basically it checks your blood sugar every 5 minutes. So it gives you like a chart of what your blood sugar is doing. Unbeknownst to me, though, I had no idea that the moment your sugar is dropping, it starts going crazy. So the reality met my, like the idea met my reality. And so by the time I got home that night, it was like a Friday evening. We're going to go to like a church event. Mind you, I'm not leaving the house a lot. I'm not doing things, but I told Kyle, I really want to go to this church event. And right about the time that I'm getting ready to leave, my alarm starts going off that my blood sugar is dropping below 60. And it was just mind boggling for me. So I made the hard decision to not drive. And it was probably, I will tell you the truth, I've been through so much in my life. I've gone through 3 miscarriages. We've lost a house. We've lost a car, usual marriage stuff like debt issues. But to have to go through every freedom that you have being removed from you, and have an invisible illness where people are just looking at you and they're like, rolling their eyes because they're like, just get over it. We live in Florida, by the way, so it's always, but now I don't have a business, right? Now I can't drive. Now friends aren't coming around. Like people aren't calling me. People aren't checking me. I felt like the friend that I was to a lot of people, like I wasn't receiving the same, and then often, and two, like my kids didn't know how to react. My husband didn't know how to react. I believe, and I'm just speaking from what I saw. I can't speak for him, but I just feel like he did not realize how severe my illnesses were.
Nobody does. It's except us. Yeah.
I stopped driving and I closed down my business. That's when he realized, oh crap, this is real. Like something is really, really wrong here. So, I basically was driven everywhere. If my husband couldn't take me, then my mom would take me, and my husband is a cop. So he was at that point nights. And, so we just, we did the best we could. And I ended up reaching out to the principal of the school, and I just told him, hey, look, this is where we are. If the kids are late, like it's because I would get in the car and I would literally feel like everything was black, like I was going to black out. It was just too much stress on my body because my stress, basically what was happening is I was having high amounts of epinephrine, which if anybody, that's where the EpiPen comes from, right? Because it's literally, and so I was having so much that my adrenals were shot, my body was shot, everything was shot. And so, cool. My anemia was restored, no longer hepatitis C. My H. pylori was gone. Use quotation marks because you and I both know that your stomach issues never go away. My stomach has never to this day been the same.
It's like I swear, it's like the engine that fueled everything. And there's another YouTuber that I had followed, and she got H. pylori on her honeymoon, and her husband got it as well. He recovered in a week. She got everything you have and I have and more. All started with that, turned into SIBO and fueled from there. And she was never like, she's a survivor like us, and she's a Christian too, which is like ironic and everything. But it was crazy how so the gut, and that is like, that could kill you in severity. So it is an extreme thing you do need to take care of. I know a lot about that because I had that as well. At 23, I had H. pylori and E. coli. I went to a gynecologist of all things at 23, and she's like, something's wrong with your stomach. I'm going to just check that out for you. Thank God she did. Several rounds of all that, and who knows? And I'm noticing a connection with fibromyalgia and that, once again, the many theories of fibro. So
I agree 100%. And I created a statement that said the stomach is the heart of the body, because when my stomach was out of whack, like, because after I had COVID, I ended up having gastritis again. It like came out, and I would be again looking like I was 5 months pregnant, having the severe swelling, the severe aching, pressure on my kidneys. And at this, I had radically changed my diet. So I haven't had alcohol since 2018. I've removed dairy, gluten, soy, sugar. I mean, eggs, bananas. There's still a lot of foods like crucifix. I can never say it. Like broccoli, like the gassy stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I changed the way, just all of it. I basically just drink water, and if I took it out, it's because it hurt me. So people would be like, "What kind of diet are you on?" I'm like, I'm on the diet.
The elimination diet. Yeah, for you and your uniquely made body. Yeah.
But then throughout all of it, I was starting to have like depression symptoms, and I would just feel, and mind you, I was in so much pain every single day. And so people were like, it's just so easy. Just take ibuprofen, just take Tylenol,
my gosh. Yeah. Right. Wouldn't it be nice?
The problem is, what people don't understand is that when the stomach is compromised, you cannot just other stuff.
No. It burns and it causes so much more problems. Yeah.
Remember, I was anemic. So I was taking iron pills, and I handle that. So I feel like there was a lot of things that just compromised the integrity of my stomach. I like to tell people that my stomach became like a newborn. You're not going to give a newborn steak because first of all,
Advil. Yeah.
Handle it, their bodies just can't process it. That's why when you first start feeding others, you feed them bland foods because they're compromised, so I feel like that's kind of how my body was like baby food. And so little by little I started losing myself, and I would take a bath every night in Epsom salt bath, and I was starting to notice that my skin would get really red, and part of it was when I was, back when I was doing hair in the salon, when I would blow dry, I would break out into, like almost
Did you get red up here in your face?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cause when I leave work, I'll be walking around and they're like, did you get a sunburn? I'm red here, 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 and here, and all across my chest. Yeah. I don't know what that is. The doctors try to call it rosacea, but no, it's a problem. And I would burn. You feel like you just went into like a hot sun tanning bed for hours. And then does your skin burn to touch? It's kind of tender and sensitive when it's red a little bit.
I would get like pins and needles, and
neuropathy. Okay. Yeah. Like nerve. Okay. Yeah.
But I also noticed that when I would take a bath, which the water was, because I can't stand really hot stuff. And it was warm. Get these huge blotches, almost like an allergy, I would get these blotches of redness, and I'm like, what in the world? So anyway, one night I was in the bathtub, and this was like kind of towards the end of the year. And I just did not like my thoughts, I was really low. And what people have to understand too, is that year, I was baptized with the Holy Spirit, which is our language, our kingdom language. Yeah. And I had made a commitment to the Lord that every night I would pray in tongues, and my prayer language, that every night I would do that. And one of the beautiful things that did come out of it is I created a prayer wall in my room. I just woke up one night and I looked over at the room, the bare wall next to my bedside, and I just knew it was missing. And so I committed to, well, if I'm not healed, I'm committed to pray for other people's healing on top. So every single night I was doing that. And so I had just made that commitment, and I honored that commitment for an entire year. Saw so many miracles, Yeah. That night I was not well. And I messaged a few people, and I said, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And I told my husband, I said, I don't like my thoughts at all. And he's like, what do you mean? Like low. And he's like, and so basically, like, I didn't have a suicidal plan, but I didn't want to be, I felt like I was in so much pain, so much agony, that I just could not handle, and I could not bear the sight or the sound of having to live through it another day. And so I didn't say, I wish I died. I just basically said, here anymore. I was like, God, if it be your will, just take me home. This is will for my life. And I don't understand why I'm suffering so much, and I'm not healed, And so I ended up reaching out to a few people, and people were just like, oh, call this person. Oh, call that person. Like, nobody stopped and said, 911, this is an emergency, and with my husband being in law enforcement, he was just kind of like, look, like, please don't do this. You know what I mean? Like he would just flat out tell me, like, do not kill yourself, like, he's like, I'll be so mad at yourself.
I'll beat you up if you do. Yeah, I get it.
I'm laughing. It's not a laughing matter. And it's
not.
He's not
God,
self.
No.
He's not, a jerk. It's just, people can think what they want, but it is a very selfless act, because you leave everybody else questioning so much. Understood, because he's seen it. He's on to calls. He's seen it,
It destroys everyone, and it doesn't solve your problem. You're in eternal misery hell. Of course, you know that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Long story short, I was like, I don't like my thoughts. Something's wrong. Like, I just knew that either it was chemistry, something was wrong in my body, because I tend to be like, I'm always a full girl. always. I will find the positive in every situation. And I reached out to somebody. Thank God I did. And she's like, I'm coming to your house tomorrow. What time? And she came to my house with me for 4 hours. And it was in that moment that I realized nobody had come to my house. Nobody had like barged through the door. Because if anybody knows me, everybody knows I'm an extrovert. I am not an introverted person.
No.
I do like some, I like quiet people. Like, oh my God, you love talking. I actually don't like talking. I hate silence. I don't.
Okay.
But in the midst of this, I have found such a, like I rest in the presence of the Lord to where I'm okay, home and stuff like that. And she came over and she just prayed for me. And she she just covered me and she picked me up. Like God used her to save my life, really. But it was in that moment that I realized like I kind of needed help, but I didn't have verbiage for what I needed help for. So the very next year, my son started going through depression. I feel like it's like that change, like when they go from like little kids to teenage, change, my other son had gone through it during 2020 and poor kid is already going through his change and he's going through it during 2020 when the world has lost its mind.
Yeah.
Then my son was going through depression. So I was taking, because I said, buddy, let's take you to the doctor. You might need some medication and it's okay for just a short period of time. Let's get you on some medication to help. Yeah. And the doctor started talking about the symptoms. And the symptoms were like that the medication was not only for depression, but it was also for anxiety. And so she was telling us a story of a woman that like, it just took her forever to make decisions or to get out of the house. And like, I found myself in that story and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think I need this medication,
Yeah.
And so I talked to my husband about it and I talked to him because he's just a great sounding board. And, I want to make sure that I'm not making any irrational decisions. And as you know, with being chronically ill, you suffer from a lot of brain fog and loss of memory. A lot of it is coming back, but sometimes I still have really bad brain fog. And so I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Especially those people that you trust.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as like, you talk to them and stuff like that, because my doctor had presented it multiple times, but I just didn't have peace about the drug that she was presenting.
Yeah.
So a bunch of my friends, clients that I have heard their stories throughout the years.
Yeah.
Said, hey, this is where I'm at. I think I need help. Tell me what works and what doesn't work. And so they were very forthcoming. And so basically I went on Lexapro. And about 2 weeks before I went on Lexapro, because I was, again, teeter-tottering through it. Not that I'm against medication. It's just medication hates my body. So
I know.
There works for everybody, but there's this 0.00008% of people that it won't work for. I'm the 0.00.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Right? So it's not against it. It's just that I have had such violent reactions to medications that have months to get out of my system. And so reluctantly, that's why I am scared to, but I have asthma. I use my inhaler. I don't go for any holistic stuff. I go for my inhaler.
Yeah.
And I talked to my doctor and she was like, okay, like, are you ready for medication? I said, I am. However, I don't have peace about this other drug you said, but I did my research and are you okay with doing Lexapro? And what really kind of put me over the edge was that 2 weeks prior to that, I had a really good friend that had a heart attack and I think she's like 60 or 61. And the doctor told her it was because of stress. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Don't want to do that to my family. I don't want that stress because it was going through PTSD. My body was going through PTSD and it was going through, all of the stress and in my, all these things were rushing through my mind and through my head. And it just, the inabilities, like for a normal person, when you go to Publix or Walmart or Target, you get out of the car and you just walk to where you want to go. For me, it was, where's the cart? What if they don't have a cart? Where's the bathroom? What if the bathrooms are broken?
So you're like rethink. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. Like where food? Do I have my water? Oh, I forgot my water. Do I have enough ice?
Yeah.
Like it was, and then when I wasn't having leg strength, which would come and go at this point, even though the anemia, I was still having some days where I didn't have a lot of leg strength. And you know what sucks is that I would sometimes get one of those motorized carts, and the look that I would get.
Yeah, I know.
My children were the ones that were just horrified. And so here's the problem I have. There is so much help out there, but people are so busy worried about what other people are doing that those of us that actually help can't get it because of what others say or do behind our backs. So if you think that you're being, like secretive, people are watching. Like my children have seen all of it. It actually made my book, because I think people need to have empathy for each other. We need to be compassionate. We need to break our hearts for what breaks God's. And I feel like that's what God has done the last 4 years for me, is that he has broken my heart for what breaks his. And I always had some compassion, but now I have this empathy that oozes from my blood, And so within a few weeks, the medication was working and it was helping me so much. So that really, really helped. But there was just a lot of things that happened. And in the midst of it, I was keeping my mind busy with taking classes. So I dream every night. So I was taking like dream interpretation classes with people that, ministries that I trust. And then I would immediately go into healing classes, basically going through the Bible about healing, diving through all of that. And then maybe that class would be over. Then I would go into a leadership class. And so I was taking class after class secretly. Nobody knew, because I was just doing it. And so I was feeding my spirit in the same time that I with doctors. So it's been a journey, it's been a wild ride, but I can tell you, April, right now, this January of 2023, that I cannot look back and regret any moment of it, because I have changed so much. God has done work in my heart. Like I said, I've become I believe I've always had advocacy within me. With doing hair, you just want the best for people. And makeup, you're extracting the beauty that's within them, But I feel like now the Lord has put almost like a title to it, and the foundation.
He's birthing something beautiful.
Yeah. And really, that's kind of what I went through the last 4 years, was labor pains. I was travailing in the spirit, really, because a lot of things that I thought were going to happen were dying. It was a death. So in the midst of the death was a birth, and so it was like I was at a funeral, but I was giving birth, and so it's been a wild ride, but man, I have changed so much. I've done things that I never expected I could do. Like writing a book was probably one of the top things that I never do that, because just, you can ask my friends, like I can't spell,
it's like God equips the called, right? And it's so crazy, because with what I'm doing, I would get up in church. I'm like, I'm not a speaker. I always say, I'm not a speaker. I'm not an out loud prayer. I'm not this, I'm not that. You know what? But God is all these things. And if we lay our life and surrender to him, he'll give you these things. Like, this is not a gift or a plan I had. And you have things within you that I see the Lord is like bringing to light that you never probably knew you even had. And then taking all the things that you know about yourself that are strong in the Lord, and you'll mix them all together, and he's going to do something amazing. So he's like unraveling a whole story. And when I look in the Bible and I'm reading, I'm like, we are like that. It's like, I try to, because I'm very visual when I read, I'm like, what did it say? I'm not a scholar, and I'm like, I have to read and look and read and listen to the word and hear the word and see the word and write the word. It is like ridiculous. It's not like I'm like, oh, and yes, the Lord said. That is not me. And what's amazing to me is that how the Holy Spirit can like teach you in every way, and then teach you ways that will work for you. So I'm just amazed by that. So for me, I know I need to, see the word. And then sometimes I'll just be in quiet hearing the Lord, and he will bring scripture to me that I never knew I even memorized, because I can't just call it out all the time. It takes me right to it and then gives me a message. And that's just all spirit led. So I see that in you, and I'm so excited for what he's going to unravel. And I feel like we're just on these journeys on these separate tracks, but we're like right along each other. And it's so amazing to me. And the thing is too, like for anyone watching this, like if you just feel like you need to know everything, like a lot of people seek like, what do you call it? Like, tarot cards and like psychics and all this and want to know everything. And I'm like, you guys, if we knew what the heck was ahead, I would have hid under a dang rock and cried. There is no stick. Even if I saw the beauty on the other side, I would have not come out, people. No stinking way. I'm like, Lord, I ain't doing that. Yeah. So I'd be hiding and crying and oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. So I am so excited. I have, as we're sitting here talking, I have so many other topics I want to do another video on you with, like the dark side of these illnesses, because I feel like it'll really speak to people, and then the bright side, and then just touch on the different things that you have and helping people in their journey, and then also helping people like if they're not sure like what to do or where to go or what they even have, to just bring out those symptoms just in some short clip videos just to help others with the things that we have. So I have migraines and B12 deficiency and endometriosis and fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'm naming all these because if you're on here and you're seeing this, or you know anyone that has any of this, I'll be doing things on this and we can relate to you and we can help guide you. We're not medical professionals, but we're professional patients. So, I mean, that's what we are. And, women of God that love the Lord. And so anyway, yeah, Jeshel has a lot of things going on. I know you got fibromyalgia, right?
Yep.
And what else do you have?
So I have hypoglycemia and insulin resistance.
Okay. Hashimoto's, right?
Well, yeah, Hashimoto's. I did have Hashimoto's, but it's crazy because there's evidence of it in my thyroid, but it is like healed, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Healed because if there's evidence of it, and I didn't even know I had it, because remember the doctor was like, you don't, hyperthyroidism. So what's crazier is like when I saw that endocrinologist, he never once talked to me about my blood sugar, never once. And then I see like, I know what you have, okay. But want to share something from my book, if that's okay. Because if is watching this and you find yourself in this place and you're like, okay, I'm so overwhelmed, Jeshel, with just even the little bit that you shared. Like, what do I do now if I find myself in a place where I know something's wrong and I feel like no one's listening, or like, what do I do? You know what I mean? And so I put this in the back of my book. And I just really feel strongly to share it, from the Lord. But it's 6 things that you can kind of do for yourself immediately that can really, really help you. Okay. And so the first things is to simplify. So I'm just going to kind of list it and kind of there. But the first thing is simplify. The second thing is ask for help. The third thing is meditate and pray and read the Bible daily. The fourth thing is advocate. Seek guidance from professionals.
Is that part of 4?
That's 4. Yeah. Advocate, okay. Seek professionals. Number 5, I think is one of the most important ones is only talk to people you can trust.
Yep.
And number 6, consume yourself with worship. I think a lot of times when we're going through life's journey, so I think, and I can probably speak for you on this part, is we almost dream of the life we had before illness. So for me, when it comes to simplifying, I used to tell myself, but Jeshel, you did all these things. See, I had twins and I had them at 38 weeks, which is full term for twins. And so I had 6'6" and 6'4" in my stomach, and I'm 5'2" on a good day, and from seeing chiropractors, I'm 5'2", but I used to pick them up both on my arms and I nursed them for 5.5 months while I was working, while I was, while my husband was still a cop and doing all the things. And so hard for my mind to wrap around the fact that I have to simplify when I could handle so much.
And slow down. You were like a train and now you're like a golf cart.
Yeah.
Right? It's like ridiculous. You're like, wait, I need an engine in this golf cart. Why am I going? So you feel like you're like 100. That is the slogan of our, by the way, if anyone's out here and you ever tell yourself, I feel like I'm 100, you better open your mouth and tell your doctor. and say, hey, I heard these girls, they say what up, they have all these things, and they say they feel like 100, and so do I. That's got to be a symptom. So many of us say that. So because nobody feels 100 at 40. You should not feel that way at 20, 30, 40, 50, even 80. You shouldn't feel 100. So
you're right.
Sorry, I'm sidetracking.
No, I love it. My grandfather's 83, and I mean, he's up and running and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, that
must be nice, right?
Simplifying, it's removing the friendships that are toxic, don't do as much as you normally do. So maybe like your children have every after school extracurricular activity. Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know what? It's okay to tell them no. It's okay for them not to do every single little thing. Number one, it's not good for children to have to do 100 million things.
They need a break too. Yeah.
As well. They need to be living a life of simplifying, and also going back to the basics, of, hey, maybe every single weekend we go out to dinner and we do all these things. Well, maybe simplify it. And now instead of doing that, you're doing at home pizza night, Friday night, and you're playing board, whatever. You're just being present in the moment. You're removing electronics, and you're removing, those types of things. Yeah. And the second one, I understand, because I am a leader. I can handle a lot. I mean, being raised by two Puerto Rican women, my grandmother and my mother, very strong person. And so is sometimes easier said than done, but the realization that people don't know you need help unless you ask for help. And so if something's not right and you feel like you are getting to a place where you don't, like, someone's just not helping you, you could even ask a friend who maybe is a nurse and just say, hey, are you okay with it offline, off camera, right, to talk to me about symptoms and kind of help me navigate, which then basically, like, hey, because I had lots of clients that were doctors and nurses, and I one time gave my blood work to as a nurse, and I said, hey, can you look at this? And she immediately said, I need to see a hematologist. She didn't see, you have iron deficiency, you have nothing. She just said, so it was a confirmation 2 months later to another friend that said, you should see my third thing is when you meditate, when you pray and read the Bible daily. Why is this important? It's important because we have to drown out the noise that's around. There's so much noise right now. I mean, you and I are I'm about to be 40. I know you're in your 40s. When we were children, it took time to hear the news. It took time to travel around the world. Now it's seconds within.
The second it's done, it's like, nope, everyone knows.
You're inundated with information at any given time. If you don't believe me, go to your settings and see how many hours you're spending on social media or Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Talked at how much time you are being fed information on top of where you're meditating, calms all of that down, allows you to fix your eyes on what is true, what is perfect, what is peaceful. Because God has given us a spirit of, he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but he has given us a posture of peace, a peace of all understanding. So how can you find out that you have anemia yet have peace? How can you find out that you have fibromyalgia yet you're filled with peace? How can you, the only way you do that is by consuming the word of God, literally ingesting. I do this because it's help bring such a peace. And if you listen to this and you don't know where to start, and you don't know, you're like, it doesn't work for me, church people are rude, I'm going to apologize on behalf of all those church people.
Yeah, me too.
But the authentic ones like us that love Jesus, that honor him, and we bear fruit in the Lord, I would just tell you to go to the center of the Bible and read Psalms. It is the oldest book in the world, and it is
it's almost like prayers over yourself. You can speak them over yourself. Yeah.
Loud. And if you don't believe a word of it, I'm telling you, by the time that you finish the book of Psalms,
it'll prove truth. It will. You can't read the word of God. If you consistently read, it will come to life.
Yes.
In you. You just can't help it, because like I said, I have a hard time remembering. I definitely used to have, or still do have, some form of ADHD or something. So when it comes to like retaining and receiving and understanding and comprehending, and it comes out of me when I least expect it. and with an explanation. And that's all the Holy Spirit led. So definitely. And if you don't want to read or you feel like you can't understand it, there's the YouVersion Bible app is amazing. And sometimes when I'm walking my dogs, I'm part of a 1-year challenge right now. I'm like, I can't read the whole Bible in a year. Like I want to, and I want to absorb it. So what I do is I listen to it first.
Absolutely.
And then I read it. And then I'm like, oh, wow. Like it comes to life to me. So that's an option too. And God is everything. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with listening to the word of God. Nothing wrong with that. So don't listen to those voices that it only has to be one way. I'm sorry, but in Revelation, God speaks through many words. And so he can use through looking at the sky, or through a donkey. He can talk, a bill in the mail. He can talk through a podcast. He can
or another sister in Christ, brother, whatever. Yeah.
Speak through however he wants. So don't put him in a box for sure. The fourth thing is advocate. So advocacy, we've talked about it on here multiple times. It is something that we are both passionate about. It's because we understand that, and this is definitely not a bash to the medical community, because I love the medical community. I pray for the medical community. I pray for every doctor that I see. I pray for every nurse that touches me. Whether they know it or not, they've been prayed up before they even come in contact. And so I know that by them touching me, what is in me is going to transfer onto them. And so, but they're they're so, again, overstimulated with the amount of work. On top of that, you have the insurance companies that makes them, it's just crazy. So we can, but if you have a doctor or a nurse or a PA or a midwife or whatever it might be in your life, holistic doctor, chiropractor, whatever, that you just feel like isn't listening. It's not that you're like being rude to them and they're just like, you just know that something's not right. They're not listening to you. It is your right to find someone else. It is okay for you to find someone else. And so, but it's also okay to raise your hand and say, hey, can we check this again? I had a really sweet friend that we reconnected recently as well. And she's been having a lot of issues. And I was just like, look, I'm not a doctor, but can you tell me what's going on? And, all I did is I picked her back up, brushed the dust off of her and reminded her of her authority and said, hey, you're the patient. You can go back for help. And she was misdiagnosed for an entire year. And after me talking to her, a new doctor within 2 weeks had a diagnosis, figured out exactly what, and was an action plan. And I remember her calling me and saying, oh my gosh, I was filled with such boldness that I didn't have before. And so that's what we're talking about.
You need that.
Yeah.
It speeds up your recovery if you advocate for yourself. And I tell people so many times, and it's not an offense to the doctor, because there are doctors that are not good for you, but are good for someone else. And when you go to the doctor, you're hired, you pay for them, you're hiring them, they work for you. And then you create a trust, and then you're a team. There's no like, yes, doctor, whatever you say, doc. Like you cannot, and you always have to question. I question every medicine, not in like, oh, hey, what is that? But I'll look at it and I'm like, okay, doctor. And I don't just go, oh, I'm going to take that. I go in, I call the pharmacy, I ask some questions, I check online, I make sure, because only I know me and my medical history, and I have a long one. This doctor is not going to read 20 years of my life and go, oops, oh, well, like maybe not that, So you got to advocate for yourself. And then if the doctor, like Jeshel said, is not working with you and you feel like this wall come up, don't give them 3 to 4 more appointments. Go ahead and just find a doctor you trust by looking around online, asking questions, asking other people, and then going for that second opinion. Once you get it, get all your medical records transferred to your new doctor. Don't just up and fire the other one. Okay. Make sure you get the one you want first, and then get everything sent over and start your new journey with that one, and pray for them to see and know, because I was starving for 7 months on a liquid diet, and we all know we love eating food, and that was hard. And I suffered way too long with not my current doctor, but my other doctor, and went to the new one. And I prayed that he would see and know. And guess what? He saw and he knew. And he even sat with me and said, okay, I'm going to partner with you. I'm like, all right, you got me sold. You know what I mean? Even if you don't know my condition, the fact that you even care enough, the compassion and the effort to try and to see the person and to hear and speak and relate is what you need. And some doctors get burnt out, or they're just going with the flow. And when you're a extra special case, as I call these invisible illnesses, they can't be seen by anyone until they see you. So if they don't see you, you're never getting better, because all they see is just a body, blood work, bones, and flesh. They don't see you. They don't see anything else. And so that's my 2 cents on that. And then I'll have you wrap it up where you want to, and then we'll end this one and we'll just continue on with everything else.
So let me just kind of speed through the last 2 is only talk to people you can trust. And why is it important? Because you're already going through so much in your body that the moment that you open up to someone that maybe they're the type of person that is a selfish person. So they're like, oh, well, I have the same thing. Oh, and I did this and I did that.
Right.
And you're trying to air out your, your grief. You're at a point where you just want to cry and you just need to like let it out, and someone's not listening to you. It actually causes more harm.
Yeah, hard. Yes.
The other thing is that one thing I want to add is I follow peace. And so if I don't have peace about something, like, and if you don't have peace about something, like, don't do it. You know what I mean? So if you feel like when I opened up to April, I knew I had the peace of God on me. I knew I could trust her. I knew that I could share my story with her. I knew that she wasn't going to judge me. And she began to go, girl, like, what GI doctor are you seeing? Or have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? And, immediately we were kind of jumping on each other and kind of helping each other out. And so I feel like it's almost like lifting you and you lift me, and I lift each other, and you're like, hey, or how are you feeling? Or I might be having a good day and I'm like, how are you feeling? And you're not having a good day. And so we encourage each other, and we'll send each other prayers, whatever it might be, to kind of like get us through that day, that hour, that moment. And when you surround yourself with can't trust, it's actually going to remove the ability for you to heal, because then you're on like, really,
it's
like
draining. Yeah.
It's so draining. And so it's okay to be selfish in a moment and want a friend that's going to love you, not keep you there. We're not talking about pity you. We're talking about people that you can trust that aren't going to, number one, share your business with the world. Number two, advocate for you. They're going to pray for you. Maybe they don't know anything about medical. Maybe they don't know anything about holistic, but they know how to fight for you in prayer. Maybe they know how to cook a meal for you. Maybe they know how to pick up your children from school, whatever it might be, but that that if you needed them, they will call. If you could call them at 4:00 in the morning and they would answer and do whatever it is that you needed, that's who you talk to. And then the last, consuming yourself with worship. There were days where I was in so much pain and physical pain. My pain was, I'm in pain every day, but there was just days that I just could not handle it. And I know I talked about like drowning out the noise and meditation and prayer, but with worship, it kind of also silences that as well, to where you no longer focus on what you're physically going through, but then your spirit fixes its eyes on the Lord. I'm telling you what, by the end of even if you just listen to it, even if you're not actively like sitting and just looking at him, like, I feel like it's like he literally dispatches angels on assignment to bring you strength, and you're able through the rest of your day. So I feel like those 6 things have really helped me. And I feel like they're my mantra now, and like
I wrote them all down, and I'll post them in the comments and stuff so everybody can see that. And then your book, once it's done, I'll add it to this link. So if anyone's watching this, like, down the line and her book is completed, you'll have access to it. So this is awesome. Like, we could talk for probably a week. So we're going to end it here, but this has been so good. And like I said, this is like our first time doing this ever, and mine too. And this, whatever you want to call this station, eventually you'll hear this on a podcast, you'll see it on YouTube, and I'll link it to Instagram. So it's Hope, Faith, and Thriving While Chronically Ill. And then my name is April Lee, and you've been hearing what Jeshel had to say in her story. And I hope it really spoke to you and helped you. And you can reach out in the comments and kind of communicate through us there. We'd love to support you and, whatever you need. So God bless you. Bye.